Well, thank you, Heather, and thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. I'm sure you felt there were a lot of people when you walked in. When you stand here and look out, that's a lot of people here. And I said to my wife, Ann, on the way over, I said, I don't know, I've never spoken to this many people before. I don't know what it'll be like. And she said, well, don't worry about being charming and witty and intellectual. Just be yourself, and it will go fine. So with that vote of confidence, I'll try and go ahead. I've enjoyed seeing people stand up, but there is a group that I'm part of that I would like to stand up, because I see Ms. DeYoung right there. If you were a principal at Chicago Christian High School at some point and you're here, would you please stand? There are a few of us. Yeah. Very cool. Well, if nothing else, I'm sure that brought some memories back to some of you. Well, so my ending talk is the future of education. That's a big subject. In some way, I feel like a mosquito in a nudist colony. I know what I'm supposed to do, but it's hard to know where to start. But I didn't graduate from Chicago Christian High School, but I learned a lot when I was there. And the things that I learned there really are going to form the few remarks that I want to make tonight about the future of Christian education, because the things that I learned there I now get to apply in an elementary school where I'm working, and I can tell you they're true. It's a little bit easier in elementary school. There were some things I wasn't ready for. Recess is brutal. Tie my shoe, give me a Band-Aid, give me ice. He hit me. Well, was it an accident? Yes. So what are you telling me for? It's just kind of nonstop, but it's not as rough as high school dances. So, I'll keep going. But as I said, what I learned at Chicago Christian, where we have 4 years to get kids ready for college, well, now we've got 9 years to get students ready for high school. And I can say it really does work. The framework that I want to use for sharing these few thoughts come from Patrick Lencioni's book, The 3 Signs of a Miserable Job. And it seems like a strange place to start, but there are some real interesting parallels for education. The first thing that he describes as a sign of a miserable job is immeasurement. No goal, no scoreboard. Life needs a scoreboard. Life needs a goal. There needs to be something to shoot for. And I think that's really true for the future of education as well as a lot of other endeavors. Where I currently work, we have a very rigid state-structured system where every school gets a letter grade, A through F. That's measurement. You work for that. Well, at Chicago Christian, we experience measurement as well. I remember real well sitting in the principal's office back in the fall of 2006. And I got a call one day from Peter Boonstra, who was the principal of Ileana, and he said, it's time to share our ACT scores. I said, with you? Why? And evidently, Chicago Christian, Timothy, and Ileana all shared their scores with each other. So I said, okay, and we shared our scores, and boy, it was an eye-opener. We had some work to do. We had not been measuring the way we should. But I tell you, we call that the year of shock and awe, and it was the best thing that could have ever happened. I remember, I see some of you sitting right there who were sitting in that room when we learned that, and we said, we are going to get better. We're going to take this as a challenge, and we are going to get better. And we absolutely did. There's a really good book out right now. If you take nothing else from this, you should get this book, Canoeing the Mountains. The whole idea, it's based on the Lewis and Clark expedition. They were canoeists. They were traveling to find the Northwest Passage. Well, they got to the headwaters of the Missouri and thought, oh, this would be nice, a leisurely paddle down to the Pacific. No, it was the Rocky Mountains. So they had to ditch the canoe and become mountaineers. Well, we had to change our whole approach. And the things that Heather was saying are just exactly what we had to do. We had to switch our focus from teaching to learning. And that's what we did. Our focus became, what are our students learning? And I know those of you that work with me would be very disappointed if I didn't share the thing that guided our work, the 4 questions. We needed to make sure students knew what they needed to learn. They needed to show us what they had learned. We needed to provide support if they struggled, and we needed to provide opportunities if they were ready to go ahead. And when I was at Chicago Christian, we always gave out gift cards for those that could repeat those. Sorry, no gift cards tonight. After the CSI pension debacle, I need to keep all my gift cards. So You can Google the 4 questions of a professional learning community if you want to find out more about those. So the first sign is measurement. You've got to have a goal. Life needs a scoreboard, and I think that's true now, and it's going to be true in the future. The second sign that he talks about is anonymity. Being relational, that is so important. Again, refer to Heather and all the great things she said about how important relationships were at that school. Just walking around in the cafeteria with Kevin, picking up trays, sitting down, having fun with the kids, walking the halls, building relationships is absolutely critical. I don't know about you, but I work harder for people that like me and show that they like me. And in schools, the relationships we have with kids, it makes all the difference. But it's more important than that. In a school like Chicago Christian, where we're building for eternity into their spiritual and their future of their spiritual formation. There's another book by Kenda Dean, and it's called Almost Christian, and it talks about research that shows what it is that builds a faith that lasts in young people. Many young people are leaving the church. The statistics are not good. But they say that students that have a creed to believe in, a community to belong to, a calling to live for, and a hope to hang on to. Creed, community, calling, and hope. Those 4 things, if those are true in a person's life, they're more likely to stay with the faith, and that's research-based. Well, building community, the very things that we just heard Heather talking about, that happened, and that's very important. So Lencioni says one of the signs of a miserable job is anonymity, not being known. And one of the hallmarks, I think, of Chicago Christian is that you get to be known. That matters, and that's so important. I'm so glad to hear that you're now working with MAP tests and you're getting individual data on students, and you'll be able to help really hone in on the skills they need to help them be successful. Talking about the future, I think it's not too long before every student will have an IEP, because education is becoming so more individualized, and that'll be a good thing. So, immeasurement, anonymity, things that we don't want. We want measurement, we want to be known, and the third thing is irrelevance is a sign of a miserable job. It's a bit of a cliche, but it's true. If you want rigor, you need to bring relevance. Students have so many things to attract their attention these days. For a lot of students, it's way more important to get to the next level of Grand Theft Auto than to do Phil Seymour's English paper. Sad but true, that's what matters to them. And we have really got to make education relevant to students if we want them to be successful. And I think that's something that Chicago Christian has known for a long time. It's baked right into the vision statement of the school. And the vision statement, of course, is to what is it again? I've been gone too long now. I wrote it. What is it? A Christ-centered learning community intent on restoring God's world. There's been relevance right from the very beginning. It's important that students have an education that will help them be prepared to restore God's world. I think in closing, a verse that has just really hit me in the last few years is so central to what we're doing in Christian education is Ephesians 2:10, which says, we, and substitute they for the students, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God has prepared in advance for them to do. Isn't that amazing? God has the work already for them to do, and we get to be part of that preparation. So the things that we're doing now are the things that we need to keep doing in the future. We need to make sure that we measure what we're doing, we keep score, we need to make sure that they are known, and we need to make sure that they understand the relevance and the importance of what they are doing, preparing a life for themselves, for their country, and for Christ and His kingdom. So thank you very much for being able to share with you.